Welcome to episode 286 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have Chuck Joyner back on the show. How you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thanks so much for having me again. I don't know why you do, but I appreciate it.
Oh, you are always welcome to be here. We always have a great show every time here. So, speaking of great show, Ben Roethig, great to see you. How you doing? Looks like you're at the lodge.
Yeah, I'm at the Lodge de Virtual.
Love that place.
Staying warm with the all too real snow.
Yep, cold weather's upon us.
Ben, I didn't know you spoke French, Ben. That's impressive.
And cold weather, I know, is in Jeff Gamet's neck of the woods. How you doing, Jeff?
It's not that cold.
No? Okay.
Oh, it's been sunny all day. My windows are still open.
Okay.
It's going to be warm and dry all week, and I am doing well.
We're going to Jeff's house now.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just rainy.
I mean,
here,
you get fed. You might have to remind me, but you'll get fed.
That's right. And welcome to the last show of 2023. This has been just a fantabulous year. I've got a few new stories and some hot breaking news, as well as we're going to kind of talk a little bit of year in review, see where things were with Apple and technology and all that fun stuff. And we'll have a lot of good conversation to this show here. So let's hit a couple news stories here. First story, Lowe's, which is one of the bigger home improvement centers, is out there. Is finally has come to the real world, and now it's accepting Apple Pay. Lowe's home improvement stores across the United States have finally started accepting Apple Pay. It's been available. It has been available in the Lowe's app and the Lowe's website for some time, but the company never put it into their actual stores, so they were a holdout of their retail locations. So they did finally got that in place, and it's good to see. And now the lone holdout is what? Home Depot and Walmart,
Depot.
Right, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
And Kroger.
Kroger's been slowly rolling out Apple Pay support. Their King Soopers brand here in Colorado. Many of those stores have Apple Pay now, but yes, Kroger is a slow adopter too.
Yep. So it's good to see. You guys have any other thoughts on this? It's just, I guess, more of a PSA. Everybody, you can go to Lowe's now and use your Apple Watch and an iPhone to use Apple Pay, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, let's not forget that Walmart is not there yet either.
Yeah, who knows if they ever will be.
Yeah.
The way they go.
Yeah.
As I said, Walmart and Home Depot are the two big ones that are still left.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're pretty much at the point where if you want to see what payments were like in the early 21st century, you go to Walmart for the nostalgia.
Yeah. Any big retailer that isn't fully supporting contactless payment at this point should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just embarrassed, but also the idea, and I know we've talked about it plenty of times on this show, but it's a more secure way. And that's the part that always gets me. The convenience is one thing, and there's no question about that. But the security of it is what I don't understand why they don't get that part.
Yeah.
Oh, they get it. It's just not important for them, because now they're limiting how much information they're collecting on us. The information from us is more valuable to them than protecting our information.
Yeah.
And if Jeff,
in fact,
you're right. You're probably right.
Yeah. In fact, I actually get emails, or not emails, but receipts added to my Walmart account every time I use my card, because it recognizes the number.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But no, good. It's good news. I was just going to say on a kind of an alternate, but has to do with Apple Pay. I found interesting the other day. I just got an email from one of my bank accounts saying that my debit card had been removed from Apple Pay, and I'm like, I didn't do that. And so I went and looked at my wallet, and sure enough, the debit card is still in there. I'm like, okay, I better call the bank, make sure that there isn't a fraud, or someone's got access to my account or a fraud. So of course, I made the calls and had to go through at least 3 or 4 people for them to finally talk to somebody that even knows what I'm talking about. And he basically just boiled it down to, no, we don't see that it was ever removed. I don't know what that is. And I looked at the email, you like you always do, and just a tip here: the first place you look at what the email address is in the actual email that came through, and it looked legit, and all the links were legit. The phone number was legit, and so it just, I guess I reacted up to, okay, somehow their system was glitched, and I deleted the email and moved on and lost 30 minutes of my time. But good to see that the Apple Pay continues to progress, and we're going to be talking a lot more about it, because we know with Apple Card and a lot of changes coming in 2024, we'll definitely be talking a lot more about it in the future here. So one other story I wanted to hit before I want to talk about the big story here. There's been interesting speculation here, and this is actually a story in 9 to 5 Mac that the HomePod, there was a prototype that was leaked showing it with the full-size HomePod with a touchscreen LCD on the top, and there's some images here showing this. And this prototype was shared, and I guess the images have been corroborated, and they had some independent sources to confirm it. So it does show on the screen. There's actually a screen showing actual interaction where like how we have the HomePod now, where it just shows the image flashing on and off, telling you that it's working. So I kind of wanted to just kind of spin this as okay, we've been speculating this for a while, that potentially there's going to be a HomePod with a screen, with Amazon in there, and their Echo with the pushing the Echo Show, and then Google with their Nest screen. And I'm surprised that Apple hasn't got into this just yet with the HomePod. I mean, they obviously, as Jeff, we've always talked about the fact that the HomePod has always been a pain in the wazoo when it comes to its configuration and not working. What are your thoughts? I think, is this something that you think is going to come to fruition? Are they going to have some sort of screen, whether it be like this one we just see now, or maybe like an Echo Show?
It depends on the direction they take Siri, I think. And right now, Siri still focuses on sending you to your iPhone for information. I mean, right. There's more that it can give you verbally, but it still pushes you to your phone. So if they want to change that so that it can just be a thing where if you have a phone, it'll push you there, but if you have a HomePod with display, it can just show you the information. Okay, sure. Then, yeah, they'll go that route. Whether it would be just a screen on top of the HomePod, that seems absolutely ridiculous to me. Unless the intention is to have it show information that is not related to searches or other Siri requests. Still, what would the purpose be? So I think if they do it, it's because we see a big change in how they want us to use Siri, and it will go on more like an Echo Show type format where you have a screen that is more facing forward.
Yeah. What do you think, Chuck? Is this something that you think it's going to come to us? I think it is.
I'm with Jeff. I don't know. I mean, I've gotten very accustomed to the concept of my iPhone being sort of the screen for Siri and for the HomePod and for the smart home devices and everything. And if you kind of think about it a little bit differently, then it makes a lot of sense why your phone could do that. Because first of all, it's a lot less expensive to, instead of having to put screens on everything, It also falls into design benefits and upgradability benefits and a lot of things. So at first, I was disappointed that we didn't have something like a screen of some kind on the HomePod. And the more I've used it, the more I've kind of gotten the concept into my head.
Yeah.
So what would you want on a HomePod screen? Do you want it to be like an Echo Show where it is constantly bombarding you with things that you really don't care about? Or now I can set up my Echo Show to show me headlines, but inevitably it seems to take on a mind of its own and show me things, not only what I'm asked to see, but also that they want me to see. Apple, I don't think, would do that because I don't think they're as anxious to sell me everything under the sun. At the same time, that would, I can see it being beneficial if it would show me just things that I really want to see. But then again, that's what my iPhone's for. So I don't even know that I want a screen on my HomePod.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at an Echo Show I just got for Christmas with, and I have the Google Nest screen next to it. So I wanted to get kind of a really the feeling of both the devices. The good thing with you're right with the Echo Show. I mean, it bombards you with everything unless you go into the app and actually you just shut everything off, and that's what I did. I have it set so it's putting some random pictures that they have of different things around the world, and it's got the clock and the date, and I'm actually pretty happy with that because it starts seeing things popping up and all kinds of stuff and videos and all that stuff. I mean, if I want to watch it, I'll ask it, and you could go ahead, you could show it to me, but don't be bombarding me with this stuff. And I think Apple would probably go to that direction when it came to the HomePod with that. Let me bring you in here, Ben. What do you think of this?
To be perfectly honest, I think there's a reason that it stayed in just the prototype stage. I think they tried it out. It really didn't bring any value to the product, and it probably raised the price.
Yeah, it could. But the thing is, these Echo Shows, the low end models, you're picking them up for $40. I mean, I know Apple doesn't like to be in that market. They want to have a high quality product that it isn't going to cost that much. But you're right, because they want the speaker to be the focus of what it is, and that's what the HomePod always has been. But I think this can be something interesting to see where this goes. And I'm anxious to find out where we go and if it happens, because I think it's a market that Apple needs to explore, because they're expanding their services, as we've talked about many times. That's the fact that it does have that. So it's something I'm interested in, but I'm sure many people are as well. So
Dave,
let's go.
Dave,
Go ahead.
I'm curious, just for the group here. What are some of your primary music speakers?
I have HomePods and I have a Sonic Move and I have the Sonos Move as my primary speakers that are in my room here that I spend a lot of my time.
Okay.
I mean, I have a home theater down in my basement that gives me sound there. But I mean, when I'm up here most of the time doing stuff, and I've got my TV and next to me here, I've got a HomePod pair, which is giving me those are awesome with the sound with the first gen of HomePods, of course. So that's what I have. I know what the rest of you guys have.
Like Brian and Webb in the chat, I used a stereo pair of HomePod minis.
Okay. Yep.
I have a stereo pair of HomePod minis in the bedroom. And in the living room, I have a single first gen HomePod and a Polk soundbar. And then here at my desk, I have Audio Engine A5s.
Yep.
Okay. The reason I ask is exactly what I thought. Now, taking away the Apple devices that you all just mentioned, and I'm thinking I also have some Sonos as well as my A5 Pluses back behind me, and I have more than a couple JBL flips. None of those have screens. And so we get into this thing, and I think it goes back and validates what Jeff said about what Apple's going to do with Siri. But if you're buying something as a speaker, it doesn't matter if it has a screen. If you're buying it as something else, then maybe it matters. And that's where I think you have to start asking the question, what do you want HomePod to be?
Right.
That's a valid question, Chuck. I think the use case for a HomePod changes when you put a screen on it. For example, I do have an Echo Show on my desk, and I have it set to mute and not listen all the time. So it's more of a smart screen sitting here, and a smart screen that I can unmute if I want.
Right.
But it's just here showing me information that I want to see all the time. Yes, I could have a stand on my desk where I'm doing nightstand mode with my iPhone, but I'm oftentimes doing something else with my iPhone. So having that smart display sitting here on my desk that I can configure to show me whatever I want is really nice.
Yeah.
So but that's an Echo. Jeff, it sounds like you're not having the experience I am. So maybe I need to take some lessons from you on how to configure it so it's not constantly. I just walked by it this evening on my way through the kitchen, and it said, ask me what you want to eat next.
Yeah. Okay. So you need to go into the display settings and basically every week, because they're pushing out little updates that add new settings that enable stuff that you've previously disabled with other settings. So it's essentially turning back on, but under a different name, something you've already disabled. So you do have to go in and turn off, like, I don't want to have suggestions for anything, and I don't want to see related whatever, and just go in and look for stuff that's enabled in the settings and turn it back off.
It's basically advertisement whack-a-mole.
It's totally that. And that part I really, really don't like about the Echo Show. When it's doing just the stuff that I want, it's really great having this here. And if I'm doing something where I want to be able to interact with my Amazon account without grabbing my phone, I can unmute this thing and just talk to it and see where shipments are, whatever, and then put it back into don't listen, don't speak mode.
Okay, so it sounds like, maybe this is an opportunity for a HomePod with a screen, because all you did right there is just encourage me to unplug the darn thing or just ignore it. Because, I'm not going to go in every week and reset the settings. That feels a little too much like checking my spam email box.
It's a stupid, frustrating thing.
Yeah. I've covered the camera. It's got the camera cover on the show, and I got the Echo muted, so it isn't going to get a voice. When I want to talk to it, I'll turn it on, because my Sonos Move has the Echo capability too, but I keep it muted. And if I want to use it, then that's fine. But then I go downstairs. I have an Ecobee thermostat which has built-in Echo, so that goes. So I'm absolutely crazy having all these all over the house here with the different platforms. But hey, that's me. But but that's the thing. You just have to. And in this case, I think I'm liking now how this Echo Show is set up, because before I had the second gen. Now this is the third gen model that just came out too long ago, the small one. And I was like, oh my God, this thing's gonna be bombarding me. I'm gonna have to turn it face down. I don't want to see this, but now it's perfect. It dims. You can put it in Do Not Disturb. Then it leaves you be.
So you have the 5-inch screen?
The 3-inch, I think is this one.
Okay, I have the 5-inch screen.
Yeah, there it is, right there on the camera. There, that's the.
No, that's the 5-inch screen.
This is the 5-inch. This is the newest one, 2020.
Yeah. So I have the, I believe, previous generation, the second gen version of that.
Yeah, I had that one, and then this one came for Christmas this year. So we'll move that one down to the kitchen, the older one. Anyway, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where it goes. That's for sure. Let's move on to the big story that's been going on the last 2 weeks is the Apple Watch. The Apple Watch started where it was there was a bit of a tiff with a patent infringement when it came to the blood oxygen. So we've talked about that at great length last week, and then the ban did go into effect after this week as we record, and Apple did take the Series 9 watch and the Ultra 2 off of their website, as well as they stopped selling it at their retail stores, which was kind of freaky. And you go on go on their website, there's no mention of it except the Apple Watch SE, and that's it. And I'm like, who wants that one? So that was kind of interesting. I've got a number of articles in here that talked about this again, but the big thing is it did resume. They were able to get a stay with the ITC, and there's an appeal in the appeals court to see if there's going to be allowed this to be going on beyond the time they were asked. So they got up to January 10th of 2024 to continue to argue this case. And they did pause it. So this has to be a pretty serious matter when it comes to where it was at. So it just returned as of today as we record this. So now you can once again purchase an Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 again. So there's a number of things are going on here. The fact that they have this dispute, and there's been a lot of other chatter about this, and as far as what this has been going on in total here. So I'd like to see what your guys' view of this, of all the news that's happened through this week. And I'll start with you, Jeff. I'm sure you've had some opinions to what's been going on with this whole mess, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, I was surprised that the White House didn't intervene. I was expecting that to happen. Still, Apple getting an appeals court to say, okay, yeah, let's go ahead and temporarily stay the import and sales ban while we work through this. That makes sense to me. And my guess is that between now and the 10th, there's a lot that's going on behind closed doors to make sure that the ban doesn't go back into effect.
Oh, there has to be. And
oh yeah,
they're talking about potentially Apple still continuing to pursue a software update to avoid this import ban altogether. Since they've been given a stay, there's no saying where this is going to go if they don't do something and work something out with Massimo. That's the company that created this technology, and there's also been some speculation of the fact that maybe one of the an email that Tim Cook had sent could have possibly caused this lawsuit. I think an article there talk about that. It was some legal documents going way back to like as long ago as 2013 about this, and the Apple Watch hadn't even been on the market yet because I don't think they even had this tech. They didn't have this technology until the Series 6. So it goes far
on that email
back.
thing.
Yeah.
Am I jumping ahead?
No, not at all.
Okay. On the email thing, I remember reading something about this, and I totally accept that I might be misremembering what I saw. I thought that one of the people from Massimo reached out to Tim Cook and said, "Hey, here's this thing that I can help you do," and then Apple's like, "Sure, come on board," and then he was there for a while, and then left, and it sounded like it was a mutual thing where, or when I say mutual thing, an Apple thing where Apple said, this isn't working out. Bye. And off he went. So whatever happened in between all of that, that's my understanding, where the whole email thing is causing a problem for Apple. So where did the guy get the information that he used at Apple? did he steal it? And if so, yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. I don't think he stayed with Apple very long either.
No, long enough to get some stuff spun up, and then he was gone. So, I mean, does that mean that he helped spin some stuff up, and then Apple's like, "Holy crap, we're pretty sure this isn't his info to share," and send him packing. I mean, I could totally see that being a thing. I'm speculating here, people, just so you know. I have no insider information.
Yeah. Chuck, why bring you in on this? What have been your thoughts about this news going on all this week with the Apple Watch?
Oh, I was disappointed that the White House didn't intervene. I think it's kind of telling that they didn't intervene, but now the appeals court granted a stay, at least to continue this.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot more to the story that maybe we don't know. We've talked on my show and here too about, the politics and tech, and how tech seems to be the big bad right now, and not just Apple, but any of the big tech companies for any of the reasons that you can imagine, and some you can't. And so I just wonder if that was playing to a certain faction, for political reasons. I mean, it felt like it didn't make a lot of sense to take one of the nation's largest employers and make a decision against them for something that is still in dispute. So that's about all I can add right now at this point until we hear more or see more.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. What about you, Ben? You've had some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this is going to get done before the 10th. Quite frankly, this has been a shot across the bow for Apple. Nobody expected this to get this far, but it did. Thankfully, for Apple, the appeals court kind of bailed them out during one of the most important shopping weeks of the year. I mean, especially with return day, aka Boxing Day, and the rest of the world coming up or already having passed. But honestly, we're at a point where Apple is being treated like a $3 trillion company.
Yeah,
and
you got big pockets. You can afford this.
Yeah, and not the underdog it was during Steve Jobs.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that statement for sure. Jeff, you had an hypothesis.
I have a hypothesis, and this relates to Chuck questioning why didn't the White House step in and veto the ban. Here's my guess. They didn't have to look at this from the perspective of what impact will this have on the company, Apple. They were looking at it from the perspective of what impact does this have on U.S. citizens? And if it had been iPhones, I think the White House would have jumped in right away and said, no ban, because that would have a significant impact on all of us. Since it's an Apple Watch, yes, it can be a life-saving device. Yes, there's a lot of value in this device, but it's not like the iPhone, where if that was pulled from the market, that would be a potentially serious problem for the citizens. Since it didn't reach that threshold, they just didn't do it. They didn't even look at it.
Yeah, it's big enough to make a point, but not big enough to do any lasting damage.
Yep.
Okay, so if I were going to argue the point or try to educate the White House, they can probably use it. Yes, I agree with you, Jeff, on the iPhone, but you are taking something away from the American public that is potentially, I'm not quite going to say life-saving, but it's health related. It's something that will theoretically assist you in being healthier. and yet you decided to shut it down again without a final decision being rendered.
I think if Apple Watch was classified as a medical device, it would have been a different story. It, however, is not.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
But then don't they look like they have their pants down around their ankles, given that the appeal board or the appeals court removed the ban or stayed the ban anyway?
I don't think so, because it's not a requirement that the White House actually looks at any of these bans. They have the authority to do so, not the requirement to do so. So, staying out of this one and leaving it just to the courts, sure, I can totally see that. And it's easier for me to say that because I'm not in a position where my Apple Watch was at risk, because my Series 8 is working just fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair point. Again, fair point.
The other thing I'm gonna bring up too is not even a year ago, the other company was wanting to sue Apple, AliveCore, with a very, very similar type of patent infringement. And we talked, and then this has been talked about a year ago, that this was the same thing has happened, and you didn't hear too much about that one because it never came to be, because nothing ever happened in this ban. So this new one obviously must have been pretty serious to get to that point. In the comparison. Shout out to our friend Jim Ray, who posted this in your Slack chat on Mac Voices Live. It caught my eye here as we were chatting here from TechDirt. There's a really great article about the loss in the latest Apple Watch patent battle. The ITC loophole creates a mess. So check that. There's a link in our show notes here. Really good write up, and it's very, very brief here, and also has the stay that Apple filed with the ITC is in there, and you can kind of see it's only 2 pages. So. But yeah, check that out. But yeah, that's the thing too. This was talked about a year ago, and both these companies have been battling it for obviously years, because going all the way back to 2013 when they were looking at this. So why all of a sudden now we're at 10 years later? It's finally coming to this point. So I think maybe they got some raring to go here to get this going. I'm not sure.
The legal system moves slow.
It does. 10 years. That's a long time. So for now, you can still buy an Apple Watch. It's back. At least for the next few weeks here as we record. And I think I agree with you, Ben. I think they're going to get to work on this, whether it's a software fix or if it's going to be just let's settle this.
Yeah, I mean, now that Apple has a chance of actually losing this, they're going to do the company thing and just write a check.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I'm assuming that part of Apple's argument for the stay was that they are acting in earnest and good faith to resolve this issue outside the courts. And I think that would make the appeals court much more inclined to say, all right, we'll give you a stay.
Yeah.
And honestly, you also don't see Massimo challenging that stay publicly too much.
No. Couple comments in the chat. Thanks for mentioning it earlier, Ben. YouTube.com/InTouchWithIOS. Great to see Webb Bixby in the chat, as well as Brian F. and Cletus. He made a good comment. Said 6.4 billion. This issue goes away, and the Apple Watch gets more stuff.
Yeah.
So why not? And both companies that we're dealing with are both medical companies. So, granted, Apple is aiming the Apple Watch as being a device that does a multitude of things, not just medical, does fitness and other things. So, I think that they're going to work it out. It's just a matter of, I think, how much at this point.
Dave, the only thing that scares me about that is what kind of precedent does that set?
Yeah.
Now, in this case, it might be something that Apple or we don't see as precedent setting, but how many other companies are going to potentially sue Apple to try to get purchased?
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork, right?
Yeah, it feels like I can understand why this might be a good fit to purchase, but that also I don't know that it's an admission of guilt, because I don't think it would be. I don't know. It's a tough decision to make, as to what makes sense to do in a situation like this, where you could just buy your way out of the lawsuit.
Yeah, but I agree with you. Then if they give in to them, then who's next? Apple's a big company; they can afford it. Let's go after them for our thing that we question. So I agree with you.
Depending on the size of the company, Apple could just as easily grind them into the ground through the court system.
Yes, they could. That legal team they've got.
Apple has all the money. If some smaller company showed up with a lawsuit saying, hey, you're totally infringing on these patents that we own, and what are you going to do about it? And they're hoping the answer is, how about if we just buy you? And instead Apple says, wow, sucks to be you. And then the filings start.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on from this. Let's hope just kind of works its way out, and we'll see what happens. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the topics this week. The beta iOS 17.3 beta 1 continues. I'm pretty confident that this is probably going to be released in January last year, or earlier this year, I should say, when 16.3 came out. That's about when they released it. So notably, we've talked about a lot of the features that are in 17.3, which would be the stolen device protection. We went through that at great length at our last show. So you want to go back and listen to that. You can hear more about those details about that. And also with the Apple Music collaborative playlists. Those are the top two things that are really standing out. But I think the stolen device protection is just if anything, this is a urgency. Apple needs to get this released, because it is a very after us covering the Wall Street Journal article from Joanna Stern, that was pretty disturbing to see that how ridiculously easy this was, and it shouldn't be happening. So the next thing I want to do is let's just talk a little bit about the Apple's year in review. This is our last show of the year, and there was a lot of things that happened this year that was a big standout, and I'd like to kind of hear what you guys think has been the biggest thing that happened. I think notably iPhone going with the USB-C on the 15 and 15 Pro probably is probably the biggest standouts this year. Of course, the whole chatter about the green bubbles versus blue bubbles. I don't even want to go down there with that. I've been avoiding that story. It's just crazy stuff here. HomePod, they surprised us with the HomePod with the return of the full size. They may have come back this year. Seems like it's holding its own. But I think the notable thing is we're really be anxious to find out more about is the Vision Pro. I know this is not going to be something that any of us will probably be purchasing. I'm sure you'd like to go into a store and maybe get an opportunity to see it. I guess I'll start with you, Chuck. Vision Pro, is that something that are you interested in? I'm sure you want to see it. I think we all want to see it. I know it's not something that's going to be in your budget.
You know what, Dave? I'm not prepared to say that yet.
No, okay.
It would be something that, it would put a dent in the budget, no question about that. Yeah. But, we all are still doing all this rampant speculation.
True.
And, Apple has told us only the things that tantalize us. And also I would think if I were Apple, I'd only be telling us about the sexy things. So, the question is when the rubber hits the road and you want to be productive with this thing, what are the options going to be? What are the capabilities going to be now at launch, or 6 months after launch, or 12 months, or the next iteration? So I feel like this has a lot of potential to be a very, very big thing,
Mhm.
but there's still just a lot of questions. And this is also pretty much unknown ground for us, because it's the first time in a long time that Apple has tried to introduce something that almost has no peer. And yes, I know before somebody emails this, there've been Microsoft headsets and Facebook headsets, and call them what you will, smart glasses, goggles, that have been around for a long time, and they've always kind of come up short of anything that any of us wanted to use on any kind of consistent basis. They're a nice oddity. I've flipped on plenty of goggles at CESs. And they're, that's fine. Some great little demos. But at the end of the day, nothing I could see myself saying, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to sit down at the desk in the morning, drop these in, and do something that I couldn't do otherwise, or that frankly wouldn't be easier to do otherwise. So those are sort of my measurements about how I'm looking at this. And we're not going to know until it actually arrives and we can go and Apple's going to, interestingly, Apple's going to go and make us go to, Apple is going to make us go to Apple stores and try these things on. So it's not going to be, I'll buy it, I'll try it for 2 weeks and I'll return it. You're going to go in there and you're going to get the experience. You're going to ask the questions that are relevant to you. That's when I will get some of my questions answered, and then I can make a realistic purchasing decision.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff? Is it something? What's your thoughts on the Vision Pro?
I think Vision Pro's the Apple's biggest story of the year. And I mean, there's a lot of other intricate and exciting and very interesting stories. To me, this is the biggest because this is Apple introducing a whole new platform.
Right.
And as Chuck brought up, some people are saying, yeah, well, what about Quest and all of these other headsets that are already out there? That's not the same thing, at least based on what Apple is showing us right now. Apple's coming up with a whole new computing platform. That's big news. And whether or not it's successful or not, well, that's something that we'll be talking about for probably quite a while. But yeah, it's a very fascinating big story. I'm very interested in playing with Vision Pro. I can see where someone like me that has a smaller studio space for recording shows and writing, where this could let me use my space much more efficiently. I don't want to spend that money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of money. But at the same time, I'm buying a whole computer with a completely new, different display technology and a whole new interface with specialized technology for interacting. And it's not just a Quest.
Yep. How about you, Ben, with Vision Pro? What have been your thoughts on this?
About 10 years ago when HoloLens came out, it looked absolutely amazing. Now, ironically, this week, it's dead.
Yeah.
Honestly, Vision OS and the Vision Pro completely blew me away from a demo standpoint. But we're also looking at Apple's biggest gamble since the original iPhone.
Yeah.
This is a space that is not clearly defined. It's something so new that it could literally take 5 years to a decade to actually get traction. It's literally the beginning of a story like the original iPhone. How that story ends, we're going to have to wait and see.
Yep. That's what we look forward to in 2024 when it comes to the Vision Pro. There's definitely going to be some exciting things here. Some of the other notable things that there probably were a big surprise. I think the one big really stands out to me is the Apple Pencil, the USB-C version. That was
it's one of your favorite products of the year.
Yeah. One of the most bizarre things I've ever seen them release, and I, of course, I did a review of it, and yeah, don't waste your money. So I'd be surprised if that pencil stays on the market much longer. Once they've already been speculating about potentially a new pencil 2 to replace the one that they have now. So which has more features and a lot more of a thing to use. So that was kind of a bizarre thing that they did when it came to that. The other
Dave,
thing was
I think it'll stay on the market. I'm sorry, I'm totally talking over you. Sorry about that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think it'll stay on the market, and it will be the affordable end, the economy end, if you will, Apple Pencil model,
Okay.
and then we'll have a proper replacement for Apple Pencil 2 that comes out sometime in 2024.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was interesting was the AirPods Pro 2 with the USB-C upgrade. That came out. A lot of people were wondering, okay, I just bought ones with the Lightning connector. Now I've got the USB. Now they have the new USB-C. That didn't make sense, but it did make that sense because they needed to get that switched over since the iPhone 15 moved over to USB-C. It made only sense to do it that way too. So that was interesting. Of course, we know the Apple Watch got a bump with the Series 9 and the Ultra 2. Wasn't a huge bump, like you made a comment about the Apple Watch. You have the Series 8, you're perfectly happy with it. Mm-hmm. I had the Series 7. I was ready to upgrade, so that's why I went to it. So you had that. Then if you can go back, though, of course, iOS 17 came out, as well as the Macs. You have you started with the M2. The M2 MacBook Air started January of this year, and we worked all our way up to the M3 and M3 Pro processors for that kind of surprised us towards the end of the year in October. They had those Macs, so it was definitely a computing centered year, and a lot of services focuses too. They really didn't even talk a lot about that, but their services sales are just grown by gangbusters. iCloud, they now offering up to 6 terabytes of space now. I think 6 or 12. Is it 12 they offer now? I
forgot. You can get 12 if you want to pay for it.
It costs you a pretty penny, but it does have that too. Chuck, what do you think? What stood out to you besides Vision Pro? Was there any other things that I just mentioned that stood out to you?
Yeah, very much. I think the M3 is kind of the big story of the year because of the power it delivers, the computing power, the lack of power consumption, the options that it gives. How many years were we barking and screaming and yelling about, we want a Mac Pro, we want a Mac Pro, we want a new Mac Pro. And now, yes, we have a new Mac Pro, but really you don't need a Mac Pro anymore.
No.
Now you've got this incredible line of machines with M2s and now the M3s that blow, the doors off of anything that we would have expected a Mac Pro to be. And we just sort of kind of took it and said, oh, okay. And it was not, I don't feel like it was recognized as the big deal that it was. And so that is, that's my thing is look at this, look at the number of nanometer process that this thing is built on and the fact that it delivers on all the promises that have been made. I just feel like it's the star of the show for 2023 from an Apple perspective.
Yeah, makes sense. You get the final word, Ben, on our wrap up the year 2023.
I am completely with Chuck here. The A17/M3 generation showed that Apple was not messing around this year. Especially when you look at that interview that Raymond Wong just did for Inverse with Apple, that this chip, in fact, the entire M or A series family, or M and A, were designed with gaming in mind. Apple doesn't want to be a part of your life anymore. It wants to be your life.
Yep, definitely. So that's a lot of what a good summary of what happened in 2023. It was an interesting year. 2024 is going to be more interesting. Before we go, but I want to actually talk a little bit about cord cutting, because that I find has been a very interesting year when it comes to that, with all the services changing and people canceling cable TV like gangbusters because of it's so expensive and they're just not happy with what the services are offering. But you're just the biggest thing that really has stood out is the price hikes. They're raising a lot of prices on all of the services. Netflix increased their plans. Netflix going to the no longer allowing password sharings, and they've been cracking down on that. Disney and Hulu are basically merging, and Disney purchased the remaining part of Hulu. That happened this year. Paramount Plus, they've raised their prices, but there's also chatter about the potential of Paramount Plus is going to potentially merge with Warner Brothers Discovery, which I think is going to be crazy if that happens. HBO, which is now Max, they raised their pricing. And you have Apple TV Plus raised theirs, and then YouTube TV, and so on and so forth. So they've been really they've been really going down that road of raising those prices. Speaking of more raising prices, so the story here in the show notes here, Amazon with their Prime Video, now they're going to put ads in the video next year in January, unless you fork up a $2.99 a month ad free premium to stop those ads from playing for you. So you're definitely seeing a lot of differences when it comes to with this, and I think it's going to continue to be even more interesting as we go down the road here. Jeff, what do you think? What's been your thoughts of streaming this year, and where do you think it's going?
Okay, first, content. There's been a lot of really good content across a lot of different services, and that's really cool. So I like seeing that. As far as the pricing goes, holy crap. Brian Chaffin and I were discussing how much money we're spending on streaming services each month. And so we added up everything he's spending. And and we realized, that's what he was paying for cable when he had cable 4 years ago. It's getting ridiculously expensive. I also don't like the idea of switching the story so that instead of saying we will offer you a discount service if you're willing to see ads, changing it to we will give you a premium service if you pay us extra to not have ads.
Right.
It's a great way, unfortunately, I think, to drive prices higher in the space. And for a lot of people, I think we're at the point where they have to think about what services they really want. How important are those shows to them?
Right. And that's why you're seeing services like Pluto TV, which is absolutely free, adding more and more and more and more channels. And you got to deal with ads when you go that service. And Zumo, which is Comcast owned, another one that you're seeing those types of service. Plex has got all these different. They've got the live streaming that's part of their service too, and you got a lot of those channels all ads. So there is alternatives. So people are looking at it. Then if they don't want to. If they're okay with not paying for ad free, then so be it. I mean, NBC's Peacock is another one that didn't even mention them that that service is hurting. I know they've been losing money on that service, so no telling where that went. But you also got to take into account too the writer's strike and the actor's strike this year. That really put a big damper on streaming in general this year. I think I saw a quote on a report. I don't have it in the show notes, but I think over-the-air TV, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, all the networks have had a 37% decline in viewership because of all the shows that have been gone. For those five months that the writers and the actors were out. So the new shows aren't coming until January now. So I'm looking forward to it. There's a lot of shows I like to watch on those channels, but. And there's that battle too. We didn't even talk about that. Is the fact that all those main networks want more money from these streamers like YouTube TV and others because they don't think they're getting their cut. and the fact that Comcast and Spectrum and many of the other cable companies out there are starting to lose they're losing customers left and right. There's been the huge numbers, and Comcast is going to raise their prices. I have one house I have to keep Comcast. Give me another $9 a month now for because
that's significant.
Pretty significant for all the fees they want to add to. Chuck, let me bring you in to the final word here. What's your thoughts on streaming and where things are going?
I think there's a word that we all need to learn, and that word is no.
Yeah.
We don't need all these streaming services.
Right.
We need the ones that deliver the value for us. And forgive me if I sound preachy, because I don't mean to sound preachy, but I do get the sense from people that I talk to, people that I see online, and also emails that I get, that there's this entitlement feeling that if I don't have all of them, I might be missing out on something.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to just say, hey, I don't need this service. And if it's a show you really want, then maybe you subscribe for a month or whatever the minimum time is. You binge it and then you cancel. You may have to do a little more personal management of your content, as opposed to just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to sit and watch everything." Shows are being released right now that I would like to watch on certain streamers, but you know what? I don't need to see them right now. And I'm going to try to stay away from spoilers. And when the time comes up that they get to the top of my watch list, then I'll look at what it would take for me to subscribe. That's it. Because until they figure out a way that they aren't just doing what they did to Brian, Jeff, and having him pay the same thing. It just blows me away that they have conned us all into believing that we need to subscribe to everything or we are missing out. So, just say no.
Chuck, you're absolutely right. And what you're describing as you were talking through the whole process of, well, then I can decide what service I want when. I was having a flashback to the music industry several years ago. And I was thinking, Pirate Bay is going to become a household term in the same way Napster did, because most people aren't going to do what you described. Right. And instead, they're just going to find another way to get the stuff they want to watch. And they will do it in a way where the content creators, the studios, are not getting paid.
Well, it's where it's out there.
So Jeff, let's ping pong a little bit. I mean, doesn't this smell of exactly what Steve Jobs was fighting? That if you give people good value and make it easy for them at a reasonable price, they would much rather pay than go through the hassles associated with the alternative methods of acquisition, shall we say?
And he was proven to be right.
He was proven to be right, and yet the companies won't learn that lesson. They just refuse to learn the lesson,
and they're making it even more difficult with the whole ATSC thing, the new version that adds in encryption for over the air
3.0.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
I mean, who is that helping? And the answer is not the consumer.
Yeah.
No. We don't have a sports-oriented audience here, but look at what the NFL has done. They have scattered their programming all over every pay service you can think of and beyond, and all of the broadcast networks. And so as a result, you have to, you almost have to have a scorecard to figure out which games are on which service when,
right? And
then how much am I going to be spending so I can watch the games of my favorite team? Because it's not like, I'll take Dave's Chicago Bears. It's not like the Bears are always on Amazon or always on NBC or always on Hulu or, wherever. Everything is scattered all over. So in order for Dave to satisfy his Bears craving, he has to subscribe to everything.
Yeah. And in the case of the Bears, and in the case of the Bears, since Fox has not gone into this decade yet, you have to have either YouTube TV or cable.
Right.
So, so there you go.
But I think that's kind of another thing. We have basically several services in different eras. I think the only way we're going to be able to kind of really get everything back together is essentially Apple or Amazon or Google essentially doing their own services cable bundle.
Yeah, it could get to that.
Ben, I think you're spot on. We are coming back around to that again.
Mm-hmm.
It's a vicious cycle.
Different method to do it. So
yeah, and let me be clear. I'm not calling for anybody to boycott anything. That's not it. But I'm saying figure out what your value is. And how many shows are you getting from Apple TV on a monthly basis right now versus how many shows are you getting from Hulu or from Netflix? And and if you're really using them, then that's great. But then factor in the fact that there are only so many hours in the day that you can watch recreational TV. Mm-hmm. You start factoring all these things in, and it's like you're wasting money at a crazy rate.
Yeah, no, agree with you. Last word in the chat there, Brian F said there were a lot of people that were upset at the fact that Peacock was the exclusive place to watch an NFL game this week. I'm seeing that's going to be potentially the trend. I mean, that was kind of disheartening because not everybody is going to subscribe to Peacock. They did offer it, but it's part of Comcast at some point, but it doesn't anymore. You got to pay for it. So, I sure hope to don't see that because, like you said, the NFL was a great example. They spread all their games out. They haven't had Saturday games a lot of them were on the NFL Network. You had to have a subscription for that if you wanted to see it. And a lot of those other games were not able to see them. The NHL and hockey, they've been doing the same thing. They're like a game tonight for our Chicago Blackhawks. It's on ESPN Plus. I can't watch that because I don't subscribe to that. So there's one thing I don't subscribe to.
You found the one.
You got the one there. So it's definitely. I'm finding it interesting every day. I mean, I think it's a lot of great things to cover for the show for the future for us here, and it's been just a interesting 2023, I must say, with Apple and cord cutting and all the technology that we all love here, and it's a great thing here. So let's go ahead and let's wrap this up here because this was a great year, 2023. We had a great time talking about a lot of great things, and let's look forward to 2024. But in the meantime, let's wrap the show up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon, which is at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you are notified when we're live streaming, like Brian and Webb and Cletus and many others. They're out in that YouTube chat there at youtube.com/intouchwithios. We broadcast that live at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and we'll leave the live shows out there so you can go back and watch them, as well as you can listen to the past shows in audio format as well. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discuss are flipped into the magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can also subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on the Mastodon at daveg65.mastodon.cloud. And Chuck Joyner, thanks again for being here. And where can people find you?
Hey, David, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on all the times this year.
Yeah.
It's always a blast.
Love it.
You can find me at macvoices.com. That's where we're wrapping up our 2023 programming and looking forward to 2024 already. We do Mac Voices live on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with all of these fine gentlemen and more of our friends at youtube.com/Mac Voices TV. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room, just like here at In Touch with iOS. On all of the socials, you can follow me, and you really should, as at Chuck Joyner. Thanks again, Dave.
Thank you, Chuck. And Jeff Gamet, so glad you are here as always. What a great year with you, and we're going to have another great year in 2024. But meanwhile, where can people find you?
Well, Dave, I'm so glad that I've been able to be part of this. So seriously, thank you for including me.
Absolutely.
This year's been a blast. All right, so where can people find me? Social media, Jay Gamet on basically everything. Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. Those are the places where you'll find me posting pretty regularly. Then for shows, Chuck is gracious enough or somehow contractually obligated to let me join him on Mac Voices Live. So Chuck, thank you for that. So that's Tuesdays. Then here with you, Dave, on Thursdays. Then on the British Tech Network, Thursdays for the big show, Fridays for the Mac show, and a new episode of The Context Machine, the show Brand Chaffin and I do, is about to drop. We recorded that actually just before this show.
Nice. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, it's so great to have Ben came on the show this year in 2023. What a great addition. And you've been just awesome as a great contributor to the show. We really appreciate it. And Happy New Year. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, first, it's been a pleasure to be here this whole year and hopefully for many years to come.
Absolutely.
You can find me at Ben Roethig on social media. You can find my writings on roethig.tech. There's new content, a new logo, and if I actually get to it, working on it a little bit harder, a new WordPress site replacing Blogger in the near future. As for shows, just whatever Jeff said minus the Context Machine.
He's got that down pat. And I want to wish all of you a happy New Year, happy 2024, and I want to really appreciate everybody who has listened this year. We love doing this show and want to continue to do it, and we're going to continue to do it in 2024. But in the meantime, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk again in next year.